No, TikTok. We're not going to sit here and act like we didn't hear what happened in Greenland last night. Yes, Greenland. And once again, the liberal left takes another L. Last night, Greenland held snap parliamentary elections. And once again, the right and center-right parties took the win. That's right, the Greenland Democrat Party and the Point of Origin Party, both favor independence from Denmark, both pro-business. Both parties defeated the parties that's been in power for decades. Pretty much this was a massive upset. Again, the Prime Minister's party, which has ran Greenland for so many years, was stunned. Let's put this into perspective. The center-right party won with almost 30% of the vote. Let's just say that 4 years ago, they only had 9% of the vote. And the second place right-leaning party, which is pro-independence at a very, very fast pace from Denmark, came in second in the election. They picked up 25%, up from 12% 4 years prior. This was a huge upset. The Prime Minister's party, which has run Greenland for so many years, was expected to win again. 4 years prior, they won with 36% of the vote. This year, they were down to third place with 21%. And the next ruling party only garnered 14%. That's a huge shift.
You know, it is frankly hilarious how this entire thing started out as a meme. You know, this is one big joke back in 2019. Oh, Donald Trump wants Greenland. And then all of a sudden, that became very real, especially in the second Trump administration. And now, guys, believe it or not, that push for the United States to annex Greenland just took a massive step in the right direction. Historians might look back on this day and say that was the tipping point, right? That was the moment at which things began to change, because believe it or not, yesterday, the territory of Greenland had elections. Now, if you believe I will say in this case, in this context, right, the international mainstream news media about President Trump, you would be told that everyone hates Trump. All of the other people around the world see our president as a buffoon. Nobody respects him. And expectedly, if you would consider that, then you would think, oh, the elections over in Greenland after Trump was talking so much about annexing them must have gone big time in the left-wing direction, but that is not what happened. As a matter of fact, the center-right, pro-business, pro-America, pro-working with America, not joining America, but pro-working with America, and get this is very important, the pro-independence party, right? The party in Greenland that wants to secede from Denmark and Danish control over their people won in a stunning upset victory. And that's also important to note, right? This was not something that was expected. This was not like, oh, we saw that coming. No. This was an upset. And frankly, folks, I think it is fair to say that President Trump's constant talking recently about annexing Greenland, which, by the way, I think is a very serious idea at this point, and for reasons we'll get into, but I'm sure you're already familiar with some of them, frankly, is completely necessary for American security, American prosperity, as well as international security, I would argue. But nonetheless, we're going to give you all of those details in today's video because it is just so amazing to witness. And like I said, this is kind of the first domino, I think, in the long chain of events that eventually will lead to America annexing Greenland. It may not happen under Trump's term, but like I said, one day in history, we're going to look back and say Trump was the guy that made it all happen. But first, folks, before we give you the details of last night's election in Greenland, do us a favor, make sure you are subscribed to the channel down below. Subscribing is the best way to support our work, and let's continue our push to 1 million subscribers. And with that said, center-right party wins the most votes in Greenland's parliamentary elections as Donald Trump seeks control. As you can see here, the center-right Democratic Party, ironic, right? The right-wing, or at least center-right party in that country is called the Democrats. So keep in mind when we're saying Democrats in this video, we're not talking about the American Democrats, but nonetheless, won the most votes in Greenland's parliamentary elections, a surprise result as the territory went to the polls in the shadow of President Donald Trump's stated goal of taking back control of the island one way or another. And let's remember, he reiterated that both in the inauguration speech and the State of the Union joint address to Congress speech. And again, like I said, if you were to believe what we've been told, that, oh, all of the people in Greenland strongly resent Trump and they hate this push and it's just so buffoonish and ridiculous, blah, 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 then you would not expect to see the anti-Denmark, pro-independence party winning in these elections. Now, it is worth noting, like, this political party is not necessarily saying that they outright want to join the United States, but I think we all agree, right? The first step in making Greenland a part of the US is they have to become independent. They would have to secede from Denmark. And now, because of what Trump has been going out and saying and bringing so much attention to it, you are actually seeing at the current moment a massive surge in support from the people of Greenland to want to secede from Denmark. And like I said, independence will be the first step in this situation. So both the Democrats and the second place party, Naleraq, favor independence from Denmark, but they have differences on the pace of change. To make it a long story short, so you have the Democrats here, the center-right party, the Naleraq, you could call them, I would say, like the nationalist party. The Naleraq are super pro-independence, right? They want to basically leave Denmark immediately. Democrats are kind of like the in the European politics, sometimes you see these conservative parties are like super duper moderate, left-wing milquetoast light. But nonetheless, it is worth pointing out here, they are also pro-independence. So here you go. The Democrats upset victory over the parties that governed the territory for years. We're talking about the kind of left-wing, social democrat, socialist, whatever you want to say, mainstream parties in that country, indicates that many in Greenland care just as much about healthcare, education, cultural heritage, and other social policies. The unanticipated results came after huge crowds streamed into the polling station in the capital of Nuuk throughout the day, warmed by the sunny skies. And here you can see some of those pictures of the Greenland election. Here you've got one guy, he actually cast his ballot in a MAGA hat, so you love to see it. Okay, honorary American right here. But anyways, as you can see here, right, a break from Denmark was not on the ballot, but it was on everyone's mind. The island of 56,000 people has been on a path toward independence since at least 2009, and the 31 lawmakers elected will shape the island's future as it debates whether the time has come to declare independence. And like I said, independence is apparently becoming super popular in Greenland because, as you can see, elections were held yesterday. This is from Charlie Kirk. And yeah, that nationalist party that has the most pro-USA politicians in Greenland had its best ever result and doubled its overall support. As you can see right here, they are now the second largest party in the entire Greenland parliament. Of course, the largest party is also a center-right party here that does want independence. They do want to increase their cooperation with the United States. So both the largest party and the second largest party, the second one is more radical and extreme perhaps in that direction, but still overall you're seeing that political push begin to happen. And it turns out perhaps that, again, President Trump's words here about constantly talking about Greenland have actually fueled, instead of resisted it, right, fueled and strengthened the push for independence in Greenland.
For the incredible people of Greenland, we strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
As you can see some more of these details, Greenland's legislature is strictly proportional, and a conservative, more pro-Denmark, more pro-gradual independence party got first overall, so they're a long way from joining America, but things are headed in the right direction. Greenland has the right to decide its own future, but our message from America is this: we want to partner with you, and it will make both of our nations richer, happier, and more secure. I think this take right here from Red Eagle Politics is completely accurate, right? Here's what he had to say. My hot take is that Greenland is gonna be our Texas. By that, I mean that they will first become independent and then realize that quickly enough, they will benefit more from joining us in the long term. They won't ever be a state unless enough people in the lower 48 move up there. And here's, again, what I'm saying about this. It might not all happen within Trump's term, but he's going to get all of the credit, similar to JFK with the moon landing or Reagan with the fall of the Soviet Union. I think right there, that is absolutely accurate. This is a process that's going to take years. It might take a decade. It might even take a decade and a half to 2 decades. But nonetheless, the words of Trump here, his permanent legacy, are going to include Greenland. I firmly and strongly believe that. Of course, the Democrats have loved thus far to treat the whole Greenland thing as one big gigantic joke, but who knows, they may have to start to change their tune there.
Go ahead. Can I talk about, like, there's a lot of talk about Greenland, for example. Now, and I know there's a lot of freakouts, you know, and of course I would never support taking it by force, but I do think it's a responsible conversation if they were open to acquiring it and, you know, whether just buying it outright. I mean, if anyone think that's bonkers, it's like, well, remember the Louisiana purchase? Oh, I think Alaska was a great deal too. $50 million, I think it was. It was referred to as Seward's Folly, and now that was Alaska now. So I mean, you know, open to having all kinds of conversations as well. And now I don't think it's not helpful to freak out, but some things might work out, some may not. But that's part of an ongoing dialogue. But he hasn't even taken office in 2 weeks, and you know, we really need to pace ourselves if we're going to freak out over every last tweet or every last conversation or press conference. Because, but
that's good. That's a good one, John. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, you know, we are here to work together, and some things we can agree or disagree.
I mean, yeah, look, I think that is ultimately the great irony of it, is that the establishment warmonger politicians, frankly, in both parties, are not taking this idea more seriously, because when you want to talk about America's superpower status and kind of flexing on the basis of defense or territory or control, you know, all the things that the warhawks pretend to love, I thought it is quintessential. It is frankly vital to the future survival, I would argue, of United States as a global dominant superpower that we acquire Greenland for a number of reasons. I mean, first and foremost, obviously, is the natural resources, as I'm sure many of you are familiar with by now. A lot of the crucial minerals, metals, as well as oil and gas, right? Just energy, everything. Like, Greenland may be the single most resource-rich place when it comes to things in the ground on Earth. And, you know, I remember back in the day when the neocons were so obsessed with invading countries for oil. So how come all of a sudden now it's like you have President Trump is the one thinking about that? It's like, no, obviously the natural resources there are important. But also on top of that, here's where, you know, control of Greenland really would be a truly beneficial thing for the United States, is the new theater of competition, of war, whatever you want to call it. And I think it's going to manifest itself in many different ways. But it is ultimately over control of the Arctic. Everyone will tell you this. All the geopolitical experts will tell you. That's the current arms race between the global powers. You have the US, you have Russia and China, all fighting for control of Arctic areas.
Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time. You have approximately 45,000 people there. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security. That's for the free world. I'm talking about protecting the free world. You look at, you don't even need binoculars. You look outside, you have China ships all over the place. You have Russian ships all over the place. We're not letting that happen. We're not letting it happen. And if Denmark wants to get to a conclusion, but nobody knows if they even have any right, title, or interest. The people are going to probably vote for independence or to come into the United States. But if they did do that, then I would tariff Denmark at a very high level.
And, you know, you look at the United States' position. So let's say U.S. versus Russia, right? Because we always want to talk about Russia, oh, Ukraine, all this stuff. Okay, well, Russia obviously has very easy access to what, right? The Arctic and all of the potential natural resources frozen under the ice. You know, the liberals keep saying climate change is going to melt the ice, and then some of the resources under there are going to be now available to us, which, by the way, apparently is another reason why Greenland is becoming more valuable as time goes on. So, hey, you know, that's apparently an outcome of climate change, perhaps. But nonetheless, right, what does the U.S. have when it comes to the Arctic? Well, we have Alaska, so, you know, that's not bad. But besides that, what is it, right? Canada is standing in the way. I don't know if Canada is exactly going to be very friendly to us in the future, you know, going forward, as you can see. So Greenland, again, very important there. Very important for the United States to have Arctic access, easy access to the Atlantic Ocean, etc., etc. And here's the thing, is that despite all of the talk about how it would be so wrong to peacefully annex Greenland, oh my gosh, peaceful annexation, how could we ever deal with this? Here's the thing, number one, okay? Back during World War II, I'm not sure how many people know this, the United States literally did occupy Greenland, because what happened is Denmark came under Nazi control. As you know, America basically saved all of Europe or whatever, and they never repaid us. For some odd reason, the U.S. saved Greenland from being taken over by the mustache man, and then what happens the moment the war is over, we're just such nice people that we ended up giving it back. It's like, I think that might have been the only war in human history where the winners, the conquerors, got nothing out of it. Like, what are I thought we were supposed to, but okay, nonetheless, let's frankly fix that mistake. Okay, we saved Europe 70 years ago. It's time for our reward finally to be given to us in the form of Greenland, something I would completely support and see as justified. But here's ultimately the thing, right? A lot of people say that by screwing over, for instance, NATO, right? Trump is ruining America's power in the world. This is so bad. This is so terrible. This is so destructive to the U.S. and our national interests or whatever. But here's the thing, okay? I think Trump is honestly looking at this on a completely different playing field. Because you look at our global rivals right now, okay? What is China currently looking to do? They're looking to expand their territory and control and influence, okay? You see that with Taiwan. You see that with the minor islands in like Southeast Asia. They're trying to annex for increased control over international waters. You see that with the neo-colonialism and economic investment that they're doing in the continent of Africa. Russia, obviously, you see trying to get territorial expansion into Ukraine. So you look at, that's what the rivals are doing. Right, they're very focused on territorial expansion because they see how they can benefit from that. Why is it such a crazy thing, guys, for the United States to say, okay, well, going forward into this new century where it's a new competition, right? We got to get out of this like Cold War era of thinking. New world you're dealing with now. What's so crazy about the U.S. saying we should also pursue in some forms territorial expansion where it's a very obvious benefit to us and creates very obvious leverage and control over the rest of the world? Whether that's Greenland, whether that's the Panama Canal, I think two easy examples there as to why it could be so important. And I don't think the idea is all that crazy. I know that, because nothing like that has ever happened in our lifetimes, it's like the U.S. adding territory. I mean, what? What are you even talking about? But let's not forget, when you look at the history of the United States, the U.S. is historically an expansionist power within our own hemisphere, okay? It's true we were not like the empires of Europe that were going halfway across the world for the most part. You have some exceptions like the Philippines. But, for the most part, America's not this huge global power that's going around. But one thing historically that America has always done is expanded inside our own hemisphere, our own sphere of influence, whether that's westward expansion or Hawaii or Alaska, etc., etc. America was made great off of expansion, guys. And I understand that, it's a different time now, but I would also say, okay, it's a different time. It's no longer the 20th century where we have that post-World War II mode of thinking. This is a new world. This is a new age. America has to approach policy, foreign policy, international relations, the superpower status, all that. We have to start thinking about things on a different playing field. And I think that's exactly, guys, what Trump is doing with Greenland, with the Panama Canal. Because what I see happening in our foreign policy establishment over the past few decades is a couple different things. First and foremost, it's like, oh, let's fight some war halfway around the world to blah, 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 exert our influence or something. Like, no one really knows, right? Iraq, like, what was that all about? Oh, Middle East, the most important place in the world. It's like, okay, well, what Trump is doing here is shifting that. He's saying, why don't we really look to exert control and flex our muscles in our own backyard? Like, doesn't that actually kind of make more logical sense here? But also on top of that, right, I think he also sees, perhaps, that the way we've been trying to, especially recently, keep our dominance around the world is basically like a defensive strategy, right? It's like, oh, Russia's moving on Ukraine. Oh, send a bunch of money to Ukraine. I can't let that happen. No. It's like, why doesn't America start thinking, forget, I'm not saying go bomb Greenland or start a war in Greenland, but why not think more big picture here? Like, you're not going to save America's status in the world by just, trying to like invade random countries again in the Middle East and then just leave and, the Taliban take over again, the terrorists take over again. Like, that's not going to work. That's not helping the United States. Nor are you really going to do anything substantive by saying, oh, please send arms to Ukraine or something. Like, let's try to like push Russia back against the lines. Is a defensive strategy, right? It's just weakness. You don't want to do that. No. Why not say, right? Hey, Greenland has a bunch of natural resources. It would make our country, by the way, significantly richer. There's a massive economic gain for, even the people of this country to be had from the whole idea. Why not do that, right? So, I don't know. Anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Do you think it'll happen? How close do you think it is to happening? Let me know. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.